Alright, well, I'm going to throw another video up here. It's been a while since I put one on. I haven't been feeling the greatest, but I'm going to take this military issue axe and get this thing shined up and in better working shape than it's ever been in its life. You can kind of take a look at it now. It's definitely had years of hard living in the military. Nobody's really easy on anything now. I think this thing got plenty of good years of life next to it, left in it. So what I'm using here, at least to start, is going to be just 3M paper that I have here. We're going to go from 60 to 220 to 120 here, and we're probably going to go a little bit further as time goes on. And I was starting knocking the rust off with a coarse wire wheel, and you can see already the difference. Just a little bit of work until to the one side, and also trying to clean these lips off of everything. Start getting used as a hammer, and it just finishes everything in pretty nicely. But you know, it's not too hard to see with a little bit of elbow grease. Now I'm gonna do something to the handle. I don't really want to go so far as to part it away from it. I probably should if I was going to do a full restore, but I just want to get this head in good shape here. So, but then again, what we're doing right now is just the 60 to to the 120 to the 220. Lower numbers, of course, across. I just set them up there wrong, and then I'm going to the buffing compounds in between, and we'll post it before and after here. But that's just a little bit of work on that thing. Old tools is something at an auction that you can get for a song and dance, and a lot of times the steel's better quality than the stuff they make now. And I shouldn't say a lot of times, there's a lot of cheap junk out in the store, but you can get them for cheap because people don't know how or want to put the effort into it. But you know, a thing of sandpaper is a couple dollars a piece, and as we go through here, I'll post little updates. I'm not going to do a video the whole way through because it's going to be a little lengthy, but get a good memory in your head what that one looks like, and I'll patch these all together at the end and kind of it's already starting to look a little better with just a couple hits of the 60 grit now. I did forget to mention one thing on my initial clip there that we're going to throw together here. It is a good file because it's a nice little, you can hear it grabbing my fingernail. I want to take that off and make everything nice and smooth, so we'll need that to remove a little bit more material than you would with sanding. If you never had a decent shop teacher, they will tell you if you go like that, no, you got to make sure, because the teeth on this thing go one direction, and if you're eventually you're going to wear a file out, you're going to get a lot more use out of it just doing it one direction. Long strokes, but here I am doing it backwards for the cameras. This one's got a nice handle on it, but so again, if I wasn't trying to film this in this particular weird way, I'd be holding it this way and getting a full stroke of the file across that. It'll work this way maybe. Now this is a pretty coarse file. I apologize if that noise gets to be a little bit much, but notice I'm also kind of sliding across there on the longer run. Otherwise, what you could do is end up start taking grooves, and I want to make it nice and controlled across there. But that's starting to get worked out, and I'll smooth this around. I'm going to do this with all these edges because this thing's been used and abused, but it's got a lot more miles to go yet in its life. And saddest thing for an old tool is to sit and rust out in somebody's garage somewhere. These things are meant to be used, and honestly, I would almost say if I was just going to make a wall hanger, I would just coat the whole thing in linseed oil after you knocked off the, because I'm totally taking any patina that came on from rusting and getting cleaned over the years. But I want to be able to use this thing, and yeah, I'll probably end up building up my own patina. You forget something, your kids take it out in the yard, but point being that I want to start from fresh here, get this thing as good as it can be. So don't do this if you are trying to have some antique that you're not planning to use, unless you just like the look of something shine up, but most people are not in that camp. I'm going to go ahead and shut this off and skip ahead a little bit here so you're not watching me sit and file and file and file away on something. Alright, so I've gotten through the 3 grits of sandpaper here, the 60, the 120, the 220. And I found, I didn't realize I had here, this is great steel wool in a grade 0 and a grade quad 0. And you can already tell the difference in this thing just a little bit. Now I'm going to leave most of these in there for character marks, but I did get most of the burrs smoothed out here. Again, I do believe I am going to keep this handle at least until it breaks, but you can tell the difference in this thing already. It's got a good shine to it. Next thing I want to do with this, now that I got it fairly well cleaned up for the time being, is to, over the years, I guess maybe because this thing is resharpened, thrown in trucks, who knows what, this thing got quite a rounded profile. So what I'm doing is taking that and starting fresh and building a new lip around here. So the way I'm doing that, and it's going to be slow because the last thing I want to do is take too much off, is I'm going to take this, set it on something solid, and just sort of, again, I'm going at an angle because I don't want to, you know, create a step in the thing somewhere. But same thing, coarse file, because I want to take off a fair amount of material. But you can already see just from the short bit that I have been doing where that thing lies compared to this smooth transition edge. Again, this thing might have been, you know, just a hair longer when it started its life, but I want that taper there so I can get a really nasty, and I'll have that full polished. My biggest concern with this, I wanted it cleaned up about like it is, maybe a little bit more till all said and done. I'll get it coated in linseed oil to protect it, but I want this thing to be sharp, so that finish edge is going to be polished like a mirror, because, you know, to me this is less of a showpiece and something that I just want to make sure works and works well. So I'm going to keep at this and get another video here in a little bit, but you can kind of see where I'm going with that and how I'm doing it. Alright, so you'll probably see that I skipped ahead quite a bit here till the end, but I'll fill you in on the details. So the other parts here, we're talking about the 60, the 120, the 220, and then moving on to the steel wools. But basically what I did was use a wire wheel, a little bit coarser on it, regular drill here, and just to kind of get in some of the shallow spots. And I just took my individual pieces of sandpaper, I'll put them upside down here, and just sanded the devil out of this thing. And then the next thing I was talking about was how to get this edge changed up a little bit. You'll notice it's still a little, it's not exactly that mirror polish I was looking for, and there's a reason for that. I'll get to it. But one of the things I did want to say is if you're reshaping something, you always want to make sure that you're not working at more one way than the other, that has a good center to it, because otherwise you can get that thing off balance pretty quick. But this turned out really nice. Not looking for a showpiece here. I actually like all those little dents and stuff. This is just the minimum I wanted to do when I saw this thing out there rusted in my storage. So I knocked off all these little lips and sort of smoothed everything out around the edges, and then basically went to my 4.0 to finish and my 1.0 prior to that. But one of the things I did want to bring up is I use this work sharpener, and I originally bought this to sharpen some of my cheaper knives that aren't worth the time. I'm not talking about ever putting this to a Benchmade, because theoretically you should just only hone one of those knives unless you have a real issue. You put a nick in it or something. But so this thing here, I found out the main strength to me, to at least how I use it, is it takes a lot of metal off. So if it's a cheaper set of knives you use in the shop to bone something, whatever, just general butchering, don't really care about it, that's fine. It does have slip-on guides here with it, and it works. I mean, I'm not going to complain about it. But for me, and originally they come in locked like this, you can take it like this, and I use this to sharpen everything from e-tools to hose to whatever. Come with little belt kits here. You got coarse, which is 30. I think they have 220 and 6,000, which is the fine, which is what I was looking to use to get that mirror polish on the edge of this, because there's a certain point where time is worth a little more than me sitting with an actual stone. I did end up pulling out my stones, and they're not in too great a shape. The ones that I don't use for my knives, of course. But so yeah, I did get this thing sharpened up, but it's not quite what I want it to be. Bottom line is, it's getting later this evening. I want to finish, and I'm very happy with it as opposed to where I ended. But that brings us to the last thing here. Now, I already did this, but we'll do it again. This is boiled linseed oil. I was always told it doesn't matter if it's boiled. Get a slop of that on a rag or shop towel or whatever and rub that on there. Linseed oil is the same thing I would do if I found this at an auction somewhere and I just wanted to hang it on the wall, maintain that patina. All I would do is just brass brush off the worst of the rust, oil, wipe it down, let it dry, and then I would put linseed oil, because linseed oil goes on liquid and dries to a solid. So if I do that to that, you know, there's a two-man saw in the other room I did it to, something like that I'm not going to use, but it does make a nice showpiece, then you still have the protection to it. It's not going to rust until you would go to use it, and then you should linseed oil it again. But linseed oil does come with a little bit of an issue. I like to put this stuff on heavy, and I did do this prior to this, but my video camera dropped out, so I'm just sort of doing this while I'm talking. But so I slop a lot of it on, and you can put it up the handle. It's really great. It was actually used as a wood finish for one point. You can see how that shines. But I put it on thick and then wipe it off, because I don't want some big gooey coating. But there have been circumstances where apparently this gives off heat as it dries, and basically guys throw a bunch of these rags in their shop trash and they burn their garage down. So be careful with what you do with the rags. But the thing of linseed oil here, that's only half full, and I use this a lot on any kind of hand tool. It really makes stuff last. Man, that's probably only $5 or $6. It's probably a couple more now, but it'll last a very, very long time. Other than that, basic recap is we did the 60 grit. After, again, we used a wire wheel to kind of clean some of this out. Sandpaper's just going to go over the surface. And we went to the 120. Then we went to the 220. Just hard pressure, sanding it out. You're not going to overheat an axe head like you would, like I'm restoring a straight razor or something where heat's a concern, messing the temper out. Now, that is the other reason why I used a file and did this with time, is because you can mess up the temper in certain things. Probably not going to hurt a thick axe head like this, but it's a bad habit to get into, where you start running rotary tools and just grinding across it because you're creating heat. I just stay away from it. You start doing it with something like this, it can get you in trouble if you're messing around with knives or something. But all in all, for a non-wall hanger, non-presentation thing, I think this is definitely going to go out and throw wood chips like crazy. But the only thing, like I said, I would change is to go ahead and hit that with the 6,000 grit wheels. Belts. But they go the fastest out of all of them because they don't last very long. So they buy a 4-pack of them or something. But just goes to show you that with a little bit of work, and we're talking half an hour including making a video. I know I didn't cover it all, but you can take something that was rusted up, looks like a total piece of junk at an auction, yard sale, and have a better tool in your hands than, I mean, even if this handle was bad, you can get new handles. and have a better tool than what you could buy for a lot more money at the store. Because sandpaper, linseed oil, rags, is probably something that you either have or can go get for a couple bucks. And sometimes at the end of auctions, there's piles of stuff sitting around. Auctions, they want it all to go. You offer them 20 bucks and you could walk with 10 or 11 tools, no telling. But it's just something to keep an eye for. You can get some deals on stuff and wind up with some high quality tools. So any questions, put them below in the comments. I know I didn't film every bit of it, but hopefully at least get somebody's wheels turning, and I can answer anything somebody would want to know, including, you know, if you were really into doing a full polish. There's already enough videos of people doing that with their buffing wheels and fine grits, but I don't know. I don't have any reason for a mirror polish out in the woods. The dents and stuff is kind of like scars and tattoos. It shows the mileage, tells a story. So, and this thing, God only knows where it was, but it's here now, and it's going to continue to get used for a long time. Thanks for watching.